Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay National Institute for Persons with Physical Disabilities. Building Back Better Post COVID-19. Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay National Institute for Persons with Physical Disabilities PDU-NIPPD, located at 4 Vishnu Digambar Marg, New Delhi 2, is an autonomous body under the Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, Government of India. Management. The institute is controlled by the General Council and Standing Committee. The Secretary to the Government of India, Department of Empowerment of Persons with Disabilities, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment is the chairperson of the General Council, whereas the Joint Secretary to the Department is the chairperson of the Standing Committee. The General Council lays down the guidelines and policies for the institute, whereas the responsibility of ensuring the execution of those guidelines by the institute lies with the Standing Committee. Human Resource Development. The institute is a pioneer in manpower training in the area of locomotor disabilities. The institute conducts 4 long-term courses in affiliation with University of Delhi, which are Bachelor of Physiotherapy with a duration of 4.5 years and intake capacity of 68 students per year. Bachelor of Occupational Therapy BOT, again with duration of 4.5 years and intake capacity of 68 students. Bachelor of Prosthetics and Orthotics with 4.5 years duration and intake capacity of 39 students. In addition to above undergraduate courses, the institute also runs Master's Program in Prosthetics and Orthotics MPO of 2 years duration with intake capacity of 10 students. Rehabilitation Services and Activities. The Institute's rehabilitation service team comprises of orthopedic surgeon, pediatrician, Ayurvedic specialist, clinical psychologist and physician, physiotherapist, occupational therapist, P&O, speech therapist, social and vocational counseling and guidance. The team of the rehabilitation professionals of the Institute is highly skilled. As has been discussed, it comprises of several wings. The Physiotherapy Department of the Institute works on following mandate: to provide state-of-the-art physiotherapy services, to develop skilled professionals in the field of physiotherapy, to carry out evidence-based practices, to conduct research and development in the field of physiotherapy and rehabilitation services. OT Department of our Institute works with following mandate: services to train for day-to-day activities of work, self-care, leisure and play, to enhance development of skills and possibilities, work adaptation as per the abilities of the patient, to figure out affected areas and train the patient in performing these activities in a more functional and successful way. Sensory integration services for children with disabilities. Further, PDU-NIPPD is an implementing agency of ADP scheme of Government of India. Prosthetic and orthotic appliances and rehabilitation aid and appliances are provided under ADP scheme to needy persons with disabilities either free of cost or at subsidized rate. The institute is also providing psychological services through a clinical psychologist. Jobs involve evaluation of persons with cerebral palsy, mental retardation and emotional and behavioral issues, evaluation of child behavioral issues. Parents are counseled for home management and proper placement as per their rehabilitation needs. The common psychological diagnostic test of PWDs is also performed. The institute provides counseling to the patients and their family members for their comprehensive rehabilitation. Various other services like job placement, vocational training, self-employment, placement in schools and old age homes are also being arranged to the disabled persons according to their potential. PDU-NIPPD has one regular post sanctioned for a speech therapist. The Speech and Hearing Unit of the Institute provides speech therapy to children and adults with speech and hearing impairments. The Institute runs an integrated primary school for children with disabilities who learn hand in hand with other children. Outreach and other activities. PDUNIPPD conducts rehabilitation camps under ADP scheme of Government of India at different places of the country, where professionals of the institute are deputed to go and assess persons with disabilities for their needs of assistive devices. Skill development training. Skill development training program is conducted under National Action Plan. In addition, awareness generation programs are also conducted at different places to sensitize the masses towards the field of disability. It is providing comprehensive rehabilitation services through its composite regional centers at Srinagar in J&K, at Lucknow in UP, and through southern regional centers situated at Sikandrabad in Telangana. The institute also caters rehabilitation services through its satellite centers at Simapuri and Narela in Delhi, Nilokheri in Haryana, and Tonk in Rajasthan on community rehabilitation model approach.
Namaskar, my name is Anup Agarwal and I would like to inform you about the role of physiotherapeutic intervention for the patient suffering from COVID-19 disease. Also, I would inform about how the institute continued to provide rehabilitation services for the needful persons even during the lockdown time and after that, while carefully complying with the guidelines laid by Ministry of Home Affairs and Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. The graph which is visible on the screen right now shows the result reported by a survey study conducted through World Health Organization. It indicates that among the participants of this survey who were in need of rehabilitation services are not able to have adequate access to such rehabilitation services during COVID-19. However, this is to inform here that some of the organizations, including this Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay National Institute, continue to provide rehabilitation services through OPDs, through teleconsultation, through video call, and through telephonic access to the needful persons. Now, impact of COVID-19. COVID-19 disease is a new form of disease and its whole impact on human body is not completely known. From the already available information, it can be stated that its impact varies from person to person and also varies from mild form to severe form. In mild form, this may lead to appearance of fever and muscular pains. However, in severe form, this disease can be fatal and can lead to multiple organ failure, which primarily includes the failure of respiratory system, which ultimately may lead to death. The neurological manifestation of COVID-19 disease also include the brain stroke, multiple clot formations in the body, and difficulty in breathing. When the disease is presenting in severe form, it is recommended that the affected person should be hospitalized and carefully monitored by expert medical team on 24/7 basis. The severe disease may be complicated by respiratory failure and difficulty to maintain adequate breathing effort. Such patients usually require mechanical ventilation. The physiotherapeutic intervention for a mechanical ventilated patient is confined to keep the lungs clear from secretions, assist the weaning off from ventilator, and to prevent the deconditioning of the body. Since the infectivity rate of this disease is very high, it is recommended that all safety precautions must be followed in strict most forms to avoid cross transmission of infection from one patient to other. The impairment associated with COVID-19 disease may be in form of physical deconditioning and chronic muscle fatigue, muscle weakness, altered lung functions, altered cognitive impairment when the person is not very well aware of the surrounding environment and is not in sound mental health. The patient may also present with difficulty in swallowing and communication. The mental trauma to the patient may also necessitate the psychological support at this point of time. The management of such syndromes is done by multidisciplinary team. Some of the complications may persist for long term and may involve multiple organs. This diagrammatic presentation indicates that acute phase management of COVID-19 patient is done in hospitalized setup with intensive monitoring. Here the prime aim is to stabilize the patient's medical condition, to keep the lungs free from secretion, and to prevent associated complications such as pneumonia. Once the patient is stable, the patient may be shifted to ward, and in ward, the multidisciplinary team may play a role. Once the patient is discharged from hospital, the long-term rehabilitation may be performed either on community-based rehabilitation or in OPD setups or at home environment. In many setups, because of countrywide lockdown, the lack of transportation facility or absence of dealing caregiver or limited timings of rehabilitation setups, many of the persons were not able to have good access to rehabilitation services. During the initial phases of lockdown, there was acute shortage of protective safety garments countrywide. In such scenario, many of the organizations opted purely for teleconsultation. Depending on person to person, the rehabilitation need of COVID-19 patient may be in form of acute, post-acute or long-term phases. Many of the patients do suffer from long-term impairment and require long-term rehabilitation. There are many benefits of physical rehabilitation of COVID-19 patients. The physical rehabilitation has positive effect on health and functioning of the patient. It improves the recovery rate and reduces associated disability. It also facilitates the early discharge of patient from hospital scenario and also reduces the risk of readmission because of illness. Physical rehabilitation improves the survival and improves the quality of life. There are many issues which are faced by physiotherapists for COVID-19 patients in post-infection phases. These include difficulty in maintaining the adequate pulmonary reserves, that is, adequate stamina of lung and heart system while performing physical exercises. The patients also present with generalized and symmetrical weakness of the muscles. Usually, this form of weakness is more prominent in the hip and shoulder area and comparatively lesser weakness of hand and foot region. Some of the patients might have received steroid treatment or could have suffered infection to distant organs via bloodstream. Such patients do present with comorbid state and require further careful dealing while intervening exercise programs. COVID-19 disease affect all domains related to health. That is, it significantly impacts the physical domain, social domain, as well as mental health of the individual who is suffering from this disease. Now let us explain how this Pandit Deendayal Upadhyay National Institute was able to continue in delivering the rehabilitation services both at academic as well as clinical front during COVID-19 lockdown. From staffing point of view, the adequate number of staff members are posted in their respective department so that rehabilitation services of the institute can continue unhampered. The staff members attend their duty in institute in compliance with their time slots so that person to person interaction could be reduced and risk of infection transmission is also reduced. In compliance with the guidelines of Ministry of Home Affairs, half the strength of a given department attends the office daily. The staff members who are not attending the office physically on a given day continue to work from home. In OPD setup, all departments worked in synchrony so that patients' waiting time is reduced and overlapping treatment is also avoided. Other miscellaneous considerations. From optimal usage of physical resources, the administrative department staff, the accounts department staff, general section staff, security staff, sanitization staff, and other helping staff continue to attend the institute in adequate strength so that services can continue unimpacted. The online classes were continued for the students of various courses conducted at the institute. Various webinars were organized by the institute for home exercise program and self-care of the patients at home during the COVID-19 pandemic. COVID-19 disease has created a human crisis on unprecedented scale. It has affected millions of people worldwide. Its impact is more prominent among the persons who are having various forms of disabilities. Just imagine if a person with limited mobility is relying completely on the family members or helpers or caregivers for his or her mobility related needs. For such patients, the family member or helper may act as a potential source of infection transmission. Hence, for the person who is suffering from mobility impairment, the family members or caregiver have their personal responsibility to take additional care of themselves to avoid being acting as a potential source of infection transmission.
PDU and IPPD Building Back Better Post COVID-19 Academic and Service Activities for Rehabilitation of Persons with Disabilities Occupation Therapy Perspective. Challenges. Pandemic of COVID-19 has led to reform of the occupational therapy practices as well as academic services. Both the person with disabilities and occupational therapy students have limited access to OT professionals. Pandit Deen Dayal Upadhyay National Institute for the Persons with Physical Disabilities has accepted the challenge and continued its services for the needy. The occupational therapy academic activities are being conducted primarily through online classes, that is, e-teaching and e-learning mechanism. The occupational therapy academic activities were primarily conducted by using the information technology, where we used Google Meet platform, Google Classroom, and initially Zoom, and we also use the Microsoft Team, WhatsApp. In Google Classroom, there are different aspects where we could utilize it for the assignments, examinations, materials, e-materials. And in WhatsApp, we have used the video call as well as voice calls and messages. These type of apps were available throughout the 24 hours for the students, and they could seek the help from the teachers regarding their doubts, regarding their questions. We have also used YouTube by providing the necessary links for the various video materials related to the professional learning. And mobile calls of all the teachers were also available to the students to understand or to clarify the concepts or any doubts. Some of the specific teaching techniques used for imparting the occupation therapy learning to the students are CD-ROM, pre-recorded videos of the patients as well as the models, e-links of the related materials, e-demonstrations by the therapist or by the model, e-study material which has been uploaded on the apps or the applications like Google Classroom, e-assignments which has been conducted by using Microsoft Team or Google Classroom. Some of the topics has been also practiced by the students. They have been taught how to practice and how to assess and how to take examination or other measurements on their friends or family members with appropriate precautions. Some of the specific teaching techniques used for imparting the occupation therapy learning to the students are CD-ROM, pre-recorded videos of the patients as well as the models, e-links of the related materials, e-demonstrations by the therapist or by the model, e-study material which has been uploaded on the apps or the applications like Google Classroom, e-assignments which has been conducted by using Microsoft Team or Google Classroom. Some of the topics has been also practiced by the students. They have been taught how to practice and how to assess and how to take examination or other measurements on their friends or family members with appropriate precautions. Post-COVID-19 occupational therapy. It is a complex process that requires innovation in our services. There is a deconditioning and frailty as a result of self-isolation, shielding, and social distancing among the patients that also requires occupational therapy. Occupational therapy services need to be prepared for a post-pandemic wave of people in need. Post-COVID-19, occupational therapy practice has been shifted to rehabilitating persons with physical disabilities through in-person while wearing personal protective equipment and using the guidelines in this regard from Government of India. There are few occupational therapy practice issues which we have faced during the post-pandemic process, such as social distancing, which causes barrier for detailed and long duration examination. Others could be personal protective equipment, which led to non-verbal communication issues with both the person with physical disabilities and the therapist. The key advantages of telerehabilitation occupational therapy are: therapist is able to see patient in home environment. There could be quicker screening process and as well as faster referrals, and this facilitates more active patient role, as well as in terms of transportation issues in country like India, especially the cities like Delhi. A patient doesn't have to use any transportation means to come to the institute. Therapist is able to rehabilitate more patients, and this could improve access to the patient in the rural as well as densely populated areas. The key advantages of telerehabilitation occupational therapy are: therapist is able to see patient in home environment. There could be quicker screening process and as well as faster referrals, and this facilitates more active patient role, as well as in terms of transportation issues in country like India, especially the cities like Delhi. A patient doesn't have to use any transportation means to come to the institute. Therapist is able to rehabilitate more patients, and this could improve access to the patient in the rural as well as densely populated areas. So we have used simple methods to provide telerehabilitation occupational therapy by uploading intervention videos on our official website of the institute, or by using smartphone, either through the voice call or video call. Video calls were more useful for assessing the patient as well as demonstrating the exercises or activities. And those patients who has access to their laptop or desktop, we have also utilized this system. The main type of conditions we are managing are musculoskeletal conditions such as arthritis, neurological conditions such as cerebral vascular accident or stroke and head injury, pediatric conditions such as cerebral palsy and autism. Occupational therapy department has also provided COVID appropriate behavior training to the persons with physical disabilities, such as use of mask, or if any adaptations are required in the mask, that has also been provided. Appropriate hand washing technique, especially by the person with upper extremity disabilities, and to maintain social distancing while using assistive devices. During COVID era, persons with physical disabilities were under undue stress due to different reasons. So they have been taught about the various relaxation techniques, importance of social communication, and imparting specific and authentic information about the COVID-19. They've been also taught about the laughter therapy, use of yoga, recreations, and their specific hobbies to reduce the stress.
Hello attendees, I'm Rajneesh Kumar Sharma, working as assistant professor in the Department of Prosthetics and Orthotics. I would like to share the contribution of the Department of Prosthetics and Orthotics during the pre-COVID and post-COVID period. In this slide, I would like to present the disabled population by types of disability in India. You can also see that in movement related disabilities, that is locomotor disabilities, the percentage of disabled population is 20.3%, which is the highest amongst all. Now I would like to present Indian laws pertaining to the disability. The Rehabilitation Council of India Act 1992, the Person with Disabilities Act 1995, the National Trust for the Welfare of Persons with Autism, Cerebral Palsy, Mental Retardation and Multiple Disabilities Act 1999, and Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016. Now, India has international commitments also. India is a signatory to the Declaration on the Full Participation and Equality of People with Disabilities in the Asia-Pacific region. India is also a signatory to the Bivako Millennium Framework. India has signed and ratified the United Nations Conventions on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. The pertinent UNCRPD Article 32, that is on international cooperation, states parties recognize the importance of international cooperation and its promotion in support of national efforts for the realization of the purpose and objectives of the present convention. In this slide, you can see the symbolic representation of various prosthetic aids, which makes it ample clear that prosthetics is the branch of science which involves the use of artificial limb or part of the body to enhance function and lifestyle of person with limb loss. In this slide, you can see various assistive technology devices, that is orthoses, which are fitted to person with lower limb disabilities. These are the parts of orthotics, which is the branch of science which involves precision and creativity in the design and fabrication of external braces as part of patient's treatment process. The orthosis acts to control weakened or deformed regions of the body of a person with physical disabilities. Orthosis may be used on various areas of the body, including the upper and lower limbs, cranium, spine, etc. Prosthetic and orthotic services play a major role in enabling a person with disability to change from being immobile to becoming mobile, a passive receiver to an active contributor, and isolation to inclusion. They also help to provide further means towards equality by helping a child with disability to go to the school or an adult with disability to go for skills training or income generation activities. To provide the necessary quality of prosthetics and orthotic services, it is important that personnel providing them should have an adequate level of education and training. The prosthetic and orthotic department in the institute is running Master in Prosthetics and Orthotics course and Bachelor in Prosthetics and Orthotic course under the guidelines of Rehabilitation Council of India in affiliation with University of Delhi. The intake capacity for Masters in prosthetics and orthotics, that is MPO course, is 10 students per year, and for BPO, that is Bachelor's in Prosthetics and Orthotics, is 39 students per year. During COVID-19, the Prosthetic and Orthotic Department focused on the safety and well-being of all the patients and felt it important to address the cases of COVID-19. The Prosthetic and Orthotic Department of Institute is following the recommendations of Standard Operating Procedure. The department remained operational as per the recommendations and guidelines provided by Government of India. The Prosthetic and Orthotic Department followed all the instructions and guidelines. The professionals of Prosthetic and Orthotic Department participated in organizing Divya Kala Shakti, a cultural event for persons with disabilities to showcase their abilities. The program held in the Rashtrapati Bhavan and Parliament House. The department professional also coordinated with Ministry of Defence and NGOs to facilitate children with disabilities to participate in Independence Day celebration at Red Fort, Delhi. The professionals from the Prosthetic and Orthotic Department provided training to the volunteers for Accessible Delhi Legislative Assembly election in the year 2020.
Hello friends, you know the global crisis of COVID-19 is deepening pre-existing inequalities, exposing the extent of exclusion and highlighting that work on disability inclusions. It imperative people with disabilities, 1 billion people are one of the most excluded groups in our society. Among the hardest hit in the crisis in terms of fatalities. Even under normal circumstances, the disabled people are less likely to access health care, education, employment, etc. Here we can see how COVID-19 impacts persons with disabilities. You know, persons with disabilities are disproportionately impacted by the COVID-19 outbreak. An estimated 46% of older people aged 60 years and over are people with disabilities. 1 in every 5 women is likely to experience disability in her life, while 1 in every 10 children is a child with a disability. Of the 1 billion population of persons with disability, 80% live in developing countries. They represent a diverse population of people with different impairments and support requirements who face significant barriers in exercising their rights throughout the. Persons with disability are at greater risk of contracting COVID-19. They may experience barriers to implement basic protection measures such as hand washing and maintaining physical distancing for several reasons. Lack of accessibility of water, sanitation and hygiene facility, a reliance on physical contact to get support, inaccessibility of public health information, or being placed in institutional settings which are often overcrowded and unsanitary. These barriers are exacerbated for those living in informal settlements and or affected by humanitarian emergencies. Building back better. Everything we do during and after COVID-19 crisis must have a strong focus on building more equal, inclusive and sustainable economics and societies that are more resilient in the face of pandemics and the many other global challenges we face. To build equal, inclusive and resilient communities, It is important to 1. Meaningful engage person with disability at all stages of the response. Second, prioritize person with disability in the socio-economic response. Third, track inclusion and empowerment of persons with disabilities in national response and recovery plan. Fourth, improve health outcomes for persons with disabilities. Fifth, build sustainable and disability inclusive social protection systems. Sixth, address the specific situation of workers with disability in all sectors. Seventh, invest in community based solution now. 8, initiate multi stakeholder dialogue and collaboration. Multi stakeholder dialogue and collaboration: when supporting local initiatives, governments, UN entities, international donors and civil society organizations need to promote, fund and monitor the inclusion of persons with disabilities in all stages of design and implementation of the relevant measures. Prioritize persons with disabilities in the social economic response. National and subnational economic models and assumptions need to be critically reviewed to identify gaps and disproportionately impacts persons with disabilities and take into account the cost of underinvestment in the disability inclusion. Inclusion and empowerment of persons with disabilities in national response and recovery plans. A long-term inclusive response needs to be closely tied to inclusive national development planning and financing process. Disability inclusion should be a requirement in all COVID-19 actions and systems to allow tracking and accountability. Disability marker. Improve health outcomes for persons with disabilities. The entails building accessible health systems, right-based training of health personnel and ensuring universal health coverage for persons with disabilities as a cornerstone for achieving the health-related SDG targets. Further improving the determination of health for persons with disability is critical. Build sustainable and disability inclusive social protection system. Universal disability allowance across the life cycle addressing disability related extra costs should be designed so that these are compatible with employment and other social assistance schemes aiming at basic income security. Address the specific situation of workers with disability in all sectors. Stimulate packages includes those that will promote training and jobs in the transitions to a green economy should explicitly include persons with disabilities in general as well as women and youth with disability in particular. Invest in community-based solution now. Particular attention needs to be given to persons with disability living in residential institutions and funds should be used to initiate, accelerate and complete deinstitutionalization strategies and transition to community-based solution. This include investing and developing sports services and implementing inclusive services at local level such as education and primary health care, including rehabilitation as cornerstones for achieving the self development growth target for persons with disabilities. Initiate multi-stakeholder dialogue and collaboration. Intersectoral linkage is required to address the multi-dimensional nature of disability and the intersectoral response that is necessary, bringing together all stakeholders, government, UN entities, private sector organization of persons with disability and broader civil society in the design, implementation and monitoring of the long-term rebuilding plan will be critical.